did I gain? I know who I don't have, but who do I have? I know the amount of money I don't have, but what can I do with the money that I've got? Like, it's always looking for that next lane, like that next pivot, that next adjustment. And like, that's really just that's my message to the world. It's like, man, like, we cannot be afraid to make the pivots. That literally everything that you probably are desiring that you don't have right now is on the opposite side of a pivot you've yet to make. And often that pivot is very clear to us. We know, you knew 3 years ago that you should have been left and did something else. You should have been relocated. God put that vision in you that, yo, you're supposed to travel somewhere and do this, but you just didn't do it. And it's like, that's the permission. It's like always giving people the permission. Yo, you can never, like, you could always be okay making the pivots, and they'll take care of you.
In a lot of ways, it sounds like a pivot mindset is really a mindset of gratefulness. Like, because when you talked
Wow.
about this idea of like, yeah, I know what I lost, but what can I gain? What did
Yeah.
I gain? Even when you talked earlier, you had just kind of briefly mentioned your father passing when you were 12, and I don't know if you could touch back on that a little bit. You
Yeah.
said that was one of the best things that ever could have happened, and obviously that's from the outside looking in, um, something so um, presumably tragic and emotional. Just to even hear you be able to say it with that type of um, you know thought process and perspective, I would love to hear a little more about that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a really a mindset thing. So here's how I think about it is I'm committed to living a life wide open. And if I'm committed to living that life wide open, if I'm committed to living the life that God has called me to live, I've got to know when I'm in purpose and when I'm out of purpose. And I feel 100% that I'm in purpose, that what I'm doing now and that the life that I have is the life that God desired for me to have. So it's not just my father dying was the best thing that could have happened to me. Every single thing that has happened in my life is the absolute best thing that could have happened to me. If it wasn't, it would have happened. Like, everything that has happened to me, good, what people would consider good, what people would consider bad, all of it is the best. This is really just coming to me now, by the way, but all
Mhm.
of it is the absolute best thing that could have happened to me. And so that's really what I mean when I say it's the best thing, in that I don't know what other life I would have had, but I just know that this is the best one. Like, I don't know what my life would have been like with my father, but if that was the best one, God would have kept my father here. And so I've got faith that that wasn't my best life, that the one I'm in now is my best life. And so for me, it was tough, growing up and, just hearing legacy and hearing who he was as a person. And as you continue to grow and mature and develop, they're like, man, you just like your dad. Or my mom be like, man, you just like your dad in that way. Or you sound just like him. Or when you wear that hat, you look just like him. And you bump into that. I bump into that all the time. But I think for me, it's being okay, again, knowing like, man, this is God's best. And I've just given my life to the fact that I don't know what's best for me. And I serve a God who I believe does. If I really say I serve that God, I must also say that I know that everything he has allowed to happen in my life didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And so it's like, again, it's kind of that pivot mindset. It's like, man, okay, this is what I've got. This is clearly the best thing for me. And sometimes we don't later learn that in life. I know 100% that the father that I am today is because I didn't have my father. Like, the way that I hug my children, the way that I look at them, the way that I have thoughts about, man, like, I wonder how my dad was when I was this age, and did I get the same kind of hugs that I'm giving my son? Did I get those when just that awareness? I wouldn't have had that had my father been there. Had my father been a great dad, yeah, there probably been other things I would have had, but the person that I am today, I just wouldn't be it. I wouldn't have the kind of passion, the fire that I've got. I wouldn't. I experienced a lot of like challenge early in life, and I think that propelled me. Like in my college years, because when people were like, for them, they failed a college test and all hell had broke loose, and I'm just like, come on, man, like this made you a bad day. Like, you a bad day because of that. Like, you don't understand. I just seen my cousin get shot, or like I just had a gun pointed in my face like 3 weeks ago. That was a bad day. And so it was all context. But I think when I think through it, again, I go back to like, man, whatever God allowed, I just believe is God's best.
I think that is powerful. Because it's like the anti-victim mentality is really what I hear.
Yeah.
Because, and this is why I'm such a realist. In reality, we all have problems, we all have issues, and even when we come from the same communities, let's be real, like this is my
100%.
problem with these monolithic group titles that they try to put on us all. And all Black people the same, all white people the same. We are not. Culturally, yeah, you come from a certain place. There are a lot of similarities.
Right.
But when you allow yourself to believe that extreme through and through, you also kind of disrespect what other people have went through. And like the victim mentality would give you every reason, losing your father at the age of 12, to give up, to become a criminal, to not try or do your best. And what I love about what you describe, which I believe is the Christian way, I believe the Christian way, based on the Bible and what I read in biblical principles, is that we should be empathetic, which is essentially the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Yeah. So we should not be dismissive of people's issues and problems that are different than us. But we also should not elevate our own problems, because the way I view it is that I always tell people, if you change one thing, you change everything. And then the other thing is that, what can you name me that Jesus going to the cross was not powerful enough to overcome?
Yeah.
There is nothing. So the victim mentality really elevates our own problems above Christ dying on the cross.
You never win from it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like you don't win from it. Like I just had a coaching client session, like literally right before here. And the homework that I gave this client was write down everything that is like not working, like everything that you just aren't satisfied and you just don't like in your life. Write that down, and right next to it, I want you to be very detailed on how it's all your fault. And she was like, what kind of assignment is this? Right? Yeah. Like, what are you? And I said, if you don't learn to always look for fault in things, you will miss opportunities of growth. And so you realize that often this is an extreme way. I'm not saying that everybody can do this. This is like coaching, like very intense and with support and all that kind of stuff. But pretty much the exercise was for her to be aggressively looking for ways to take ownership, because when you aggressively look for ways to take ownership, you aggressively find ways to develop yourself and find like my grandma used to say, boy, there's still some meat on that bone. Yeah. Like you look for the meat on the bone. Like, it's like, yo, I know you think that was such a bad scenario and that it was all their fault. And looking from the outside, yes, absolutely, that was all theirs. But is there anything that you could find that could be potentially your fault? Because if you could find a way to blame yourself on things, you now put yourself back into control. And now you say, man, if this was my fault, I can change this. And here's the thing, when it's your fault on the negative, it can also be your fault on the positive. It's not one-sided. It's like, yeah, everything that's bad, man, that's my fault. I take that. I learned that in football. I learned like, yo, when you messed up on a play, you called that. My bad, y'all. That's me. My bad. Like you took ownership of the ball being dropped, or you missing a tackle. But then when you won, we're gonna celebrate in the end zone. Like we're gonna turn up.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but you can't have one without the other. Like you can't not say, yo, I take that. That's my bad. And then always celebrate. It's like, no. Like that's not how we move. And I think if we treat our lives like that, man, we find so many ways that we can grow and get better.
Ownership and accountability. All right, we got a couple minutes, so I didn't get to everything I wanted to.
So good.
I gotta choose one. Man, I got a few more. Go
ahead. No, you can go ahead. I'm good. You can go ahead.
You sure, bro?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'm only going with 10 minutes, 10 extra minutes, and I'll get you out of here. Thank you so much. Because you said so much dope stuff. I'm like, I want to dig into that. Like, so one of the things that, this conversation around ownership and accountability really makes me think about, like, I know you have a lot of experience in corporate America, right? And this show is about faith in business. And some folks listening to this show are trying to grow a career. Like I said, the person I was talking to today is trying to figure out like just entering corporate America entry level, coming from where we come from, culture shock. I've been there, still in some ways, always put myself in uncomfortable situations. Like, what role has corporate America played in shaping you into the entrepreneur that you are today? And then I want to know from there what advice you would give someone who's at the starting point in corporate America, maybe rough around the edges, and wants to grow their career.
Man, corporate America has been everything for me. Like that, to me, that's been my training ground. I've got the ability to learn on other people's dime. I got the ability to get trained on how to be in big corporate business and learn systems and learn structure and learn onboarding. And like, I got to learn these kind of things. But the biggest thing that I would say though is, and I'm a quick story. When I first graduated college, I took a job at HP, Hewlett Packard, moved out to California, and it was me, and it was like a group, it was a group of 18 of us, right? And we own, like, it's a big corporate campus. It's like 2,000-3,000 people working at that campus, cafeteria, games. It's like everything you see on TV, like in Silicon Valley. It's all that, right? We get there and it's us, me, and like 17 other students that just graduated college. We all green, and they came from way bigger colleges than me, like Alabama, Clemson, like way bigger schools. And our manager walks up to us and he said, "You are all sheep, but there's probably one, maybe two wolves among you." And we just like, this is day one. Like, we're in the lobby still. We getting our badges, we taking our photos to put on our badge type deal.
Yeah.
And he's like, all of you are sheep. And there's probably one or two wolves among you. And I'm trying to find the wolf. And like, this wasn't even like you would think this was like Wolf of Wall Street. Like, we cold calling and banging on doors. Like, this wasn't even like that. Like, we were selling technology solutions to companies that already had our product. It was just like very farmer like. But I'll never forget, it was me and two other black guys. And the hiring manager was a white guy. And he pulled us aside like day 2 or 3. We're in the middle of training. He pulls us out of training. And he said, "Hey guys, I'm not going to act like I don't see your reality." And I'm just like, what are you talking about? And he said, "I know that there's not many people that look like you guys here. I realize that." And he's like, "There's nothing that I personally can do to change that." He said, "But what I can do is I can connect you with people that look like you that are in upper leadership so you can see that you can win here too." White guy. Don't know me from a blade of grass in Arkansas.
Wow.
Seen like, man, these guys, they stick out like a sore thumb. And again, this is a campus of 2,000 people. There's probably like 5 black people on the entire campus, right?
Wow.
And so like, that was one of my first entry-level corporate experiences.